I give the call to the member for Chisholm.
My question is to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. What is the Albanese Labor government doing to address rising energy costs caused by a decade of climate and energy policy failure?
I give the call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for Chisholm for a question and congratulate her on a win, and we look forward to a long and substantial contribution in this House. And of course, Mr Speaker, the answer to dealing with rising power prices is the same as the answer to reduce emissions. That is more renewable energy, because we know on this side of the House that clean energy is cheap energy. We know the sun doesn't send a bill and the wind doesn't send an invoice, something that the honourable members opposite haven't worked out. Today, Mr Speaker, normally I'd say the opposition doesn't have any ideas, but to be fair, we always try to be fair on this side. They've got one today. Their answer to rising energy prices is to put more of the most expensive form of energy, nuclear, into the system. That's their answer. That's the Leader of the Opposition's big announcement today, that he supports the most expensive form of energy available, nuclear energy. Well done. Well done. Now, Mr Speaker, another part of our agenda, of course, is the climate bill before the House. This is the bill which locks in our emissions reductions target, makes them the law of the land, and importantly sends the signal to the investors around the world that the 22 failed energy policy era is over. The country has one energy policy, and it is the policy in the law of the land. And there's been a very wide range of support to legislate. We've got the Business Council of Australia calling for the legislation to pass, the Australian Industry Group, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Australian Superannuation Investors. Mr Speaker, a range of groups from Greenpeace to Rio Tinto all calling for the legislation to pass. A very broad coalition calling for the legislation to pass. There's a very narrow coalition opposing it, though, and that's the coalition opposite, Mr Speaker. After 9 years of denial and delay, they want to continue. They want to keep those 9 years going longer. It just goes to show you, Mr Speaker, you can change the face at the front of the shop, but they're still selling the same old dud product. This is the modern Liberal Party. What you see is what you get. They haven't changed. You can change from the member for Cook to the member for Dixon. Maybe you could change again, but the product hasn't changed. They still don't accept the science of climate change. They still believe in denial and delay.
His seat. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order. I would like to hear the point of order in silence.
Mr Speaker, the Minister was asked about what the Albanese Labor government is doing to address power prices, and instead we've heard this unstructured spray against the record this side of the House.
The Manager of Opposition Business room is seat. I will hear from the Leader of the House on the point of order.
Yeah, thanks. If I, Mr Speaker, to the point of order, may complete the sentence that the Manager of Opposition Business cut short. What is the Albanese Labor government doing to address rising energy costs caused by a decade of climate and energy policy failure? I think that makes it relevant.
Further to the point of order, the Manager of Opposition Business.
Mr Speaker, the question is really one for you. Is it the case that simply by putting in—
Resume your seat. I understand your point. Resume your seat. The question— it is a question for me. Thank you for that. The question was, what is the government doing to address rising power costs given a decade of failure? I want to be clear on this. If that is the phrase of the question, then it is entirely relevant for a minister to refer to previous decisions, what has led to this decision. I'm calling him in order, and I give him the call now.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The fact of the matter is this is the modern Liberal Party, out of touch with the challenges of today. The biggest challenge facing our world is climate change. The biggest economic opportunity facing our nation is climate change. And these guys didn't get it for 9 years, and they still don't get it. You can change the face at the front of the shop. They're still selling the same old dud product.
Order.